Stuart, it's been another typical week of Scottish football with refereeing decisions and the what. Like, just looking back to your last game, did you speak to the referees after the game about the penalty decision that you thought you should have had, and what's your latest view on it?
Nah, listen, again, I had a really good conversation with Willie on Monday. Short conversation. It was, it was a question from my side of things. There was probably three main incidents, I think, in our game. I think there was a question mark on our fourth goal as to whether it hit Apostolos' arm or not. I think, again, the pictures that I've seen, it looks as if it hits him on the shirt line, which is that kind of defining factor. Obviously, the penalty for Dundee United that makes it 1-1, and the penalty, I believe, that we should have had right in the stroke of half time, which would have given us the opportunity to make the game 4-1. I think we all know the relevance and the significance of that. But as I say, good conversation. I'd kind of said to Willie that the conversation stays in-house between myself and him, but I think the real simple fact that I'd be prepared to put on it was we seen the incidents the same way. We seen all the incidents the same way, and I think everybody knows our feeling as a football club that I probably felt it was as clear a penalty as you were going to see on Saturday. And I still think that's the case. So I think it's one that we've missed, would be my view. It doesn't have an impact on the outcome of the game, but obviously those are the ones that in those tight games, we've been told we should have won against Ross County at 0-0. I spoke about that. The game should have been stopped against Dundee at 1-1. So as the season goes on, you really hope that some of those decisions go in your favour. You'll need to get them at times. And when I say go in your favour, it's just trying to get to as many of the right outcome as we possibly can.
Having spoken to Willie and looking back at the season as a whole, what's your current standpoint on VAR? Do you think we are improving from where we were the teething issues of a season or two ago?
Yeah, I think what I'd said. I was asked this question on Saturday, and my answer will stay the same. I thought we started really well. I thought that a large number of the decisions were pretty much correct. I thought that we were making real strides in that front. From a personal point of view, I don't think that that's been great of late, because I've mentioned three major incidents in games that can have a defining factor in what the outcome is. So again, what we end up doing in this is we break up into our own fight. We end up saying that Motherwell feel that they should have had three decisions in the last 4 games or something that would have had an impact. 5 games, three decisions in 5 games. So from that point of view, I don't feel that it's just been as consistent as it was at the start of the season. But I need to go on record again and saying that for me, the transparency and the communication has dramatically improved. I feel that we're not trying to throw anybody under the bus, but I think that we have to get to that end fact. I always talk about being black and white. What's the correct call? What's the correct outcome? And as I say, I sat 2 weeks ago in a meeting with many of the clubs and Willie and his staff and his officials, and it was an open conversation. It wasn't a dictatorship to say that this is how it's going to be, this is what we see, and there's no other thought process. There's very much been an angle leaning towards the clubs as to what do you feel on some of the contentious decisions. And you know what? It still splits the room. Let's see at the end of this week when the KMI report comes out. But if we relate it back to the Seddon incident, which I'm sure will be in there, I would be stunned if that doesn't come out as a 5-0 in favour of it. Should have been a penalty kick. So relating to ourselves, but overall, I think where we had to start was better communication, better understanding from both parties, from both sides, and I feel that that's the direction that we're travelling in just now.
You say that you and Willie seen it the same way. You say it was a penalty, so he's obviously agreed it was a penalty. Is that a mistake was made by the officials then, or is that just interpretation?
I think what you'll see, moving forward is that might potentially be an instant that will be used as training, because this is another thing. We train our players. We make a mistake, we can see the goal, we go and we train and we go and try and improve through the week. That's how it works, and I think it's the same for the officials. So I would be fairly certain that what they do is they use a lot of these incidents to say, if we're seeing that type of scenario, then this should be the outcome that we're looking at the end of that. Again, not a stick to beat anybody over the head with, but as I say, if that type of thing happens, if you look at the contact on Said in comparison to the contact on Mo, it's a completely different thing. It is a completely different thing. Although I'm sitting in the stand and I radioed down to our staff to say that I believe that the Mo one will be given. So again, that probably shows the level of consistency that I'm trying to put on it, so that we're actually prepared for the penalty kick, as opposed to sitting there trying to kid ourselves on that it's not going to be given. And then the flip side to it is that I said the exact same thing when Said went down and I had the benefit of one replay. I only needed one replay to see. I thought it was live time, but I only needed one replay to sort of confirm that.
Stuart, you said there that if your players were to make a mistake, then the key is to then train and look back on it. So do you think that full-time referees could be the way to go?
Again, this is only a personal opinion, and this will vary, but my personal opinion's always been that it's not so much in the full-time element. It's about understanding what we see, and I always talk about emotional intelligence. So in the heat of the moment, you know, I've heard some of the comms between the officials. There's so many voices, there's so many different things going on, so we know it's not an easy job. We understand that, we get that, but I don't really know if it's on the full-time element. I think it's that continued training. I do think it's that, you know, willingness to communicate with players and with staff during the game. Once we get that second, third, fourth, fifth, sixth look at certain incidents, it's just being able to pick out what you actually see and try and get a level of clarity on that. So yeah, do I personally think that the full-time element is going to dramatically change it? I don't. But I think trying to work towards what we're doing just now, albeit we'll feel that there's some incorrect decisions there. Of course there is. There's, you know, there's human error in all of this as well. But I firmly believe that it's that continued practice. I do repetition. I talk about repetition as football players all the time, and I think it's repetition from referees. But you know what? There's a pressure on them, the same as there is my players, for example. If they make mistakes and if they're not getting this right and they're not getting results, then I always have to change. You know, I have to make some sort of adjustment, some sort of change to your shape of your players, and I think that that's something that you may well see, and I think we have possibly seen, but not publicly within the referee side of things.
Did you hear the audio around that incident?
The
audio about the penalty you never got, have you heard that one?
No, I've not. As I say, I just had that conversation with Willie. I know what I seen myself. I'm not really debating what they were saying at that minute in time. You know, there's at least 2 or 3 guys that have seen that a completely different way from what I have and from what many others will. I know we're kind of looking for this KMI towards the end of the week, but we'll look at that and I'll reiterate it. I'd be stunned if that doesn't sit at 5-0.
Looking ahead to the weekend, well, Friday night, currently 4th, chance to win 3 in a row. How are you feeling? How are the boys feeling?
Yeah, we're good. We're good. You keep talking about this, that you're 2 games, 1 game away from being the worst team, the worst manager, the worst coaching staff in the world, and you're a game or 2 away from being the best. It's just it's football in this country. It's what it is. You don't get too high, you don't get too low. But the bit that we can say is that our group, our players are feeling good. They're not much different from what they were 2 weeks ago. That's how we try and run things here. That's how we try and approach every single day. We feel that by beating Dundee United for the 3rd time this season, we put ourselves in a decent spot. But it's now that task to go and try and maximise the next opportunity. And you're right, the next opportunity is to try and win a 3rd game in a row. As difficult as that's going to be, you know, I don't shift from that. I think Kilmarnock are a really good team at this level. I think they're such a difficult opponent, but I look forward to the game on the Friday night. That was one thing I said against Dundee United in the quarter-final of the Cup. I think it always has that slightly different, slightly more special feel under the floodlights, and we get a terrific crowd here against Dundee United in the Cup, and then we hope for something very similar here when the game comes around.
Did you get sort of a different perspective watching the team in live time from up the stands, maybe opposed to being in the dugout?
I absolutely hated it, so I did, and especially the nature of the game, 4-3. You know, I think as a manager, we're all different. We all act different ways. I'm probably quite an emotional guy. I'm quite a animated guy at times, and sometimes that's a way that you let off your frustrations. That's sometimes the way that you look to try and get your message across. David Clarkson, who was on the other end of the earpiece, to me, I think he's still suffering. I think his ears still burning, because you're so passionate about it. You want your team to do well. You want your your people to do well, you want your football club to do well, and that's how I've always been, and I kind of wear my heart on my sleeve, always have done, probably always will do. You'll not change from that. But it was a different experience. You see, of course, you see different elements, and you see a bigger picture. But I look forward to getting back down to the touchline on Friday.
In the mood music, maybe, well, obviously you're saying results maybe haven't changed too drastically, but the mood music can change from very positive to very negative very quickly. How do you shield your players from that, if not all that's changing in terms of position and all that?
I think we try and build a resilience to that, both positive and negative. For day one in pre-season, I've always spoken about this, about trying not to listen to outside noise, trying not to listen to the knee-jerk opinion, and people trying to create a different narrative to the one that's actually there. Stare at the facts, look at the facts, and build a picture off of that. Has always been my kind of thought process. So that's not just about today, that's not just about the last couple of weeks. We've got a real tough period, a lot of games coming, it's not going to be through that. I believe you build a resilience to that. Whether you're winning games, not to get carried away. If you happen to lose a few games, which is inevitable for every single club in this division, not just Motherwell, then you, as I say, you try and build that resilience towards it, and it's about how you work, I believe, every single day of your life. It's not just about the emotion that comes off the back of a game on a Saturday. And do you know what? I think we've been pretty good at that throughout the course of this season, and in general my tenure. We don't get too high, we don't get too low. You guys hear me after a win when I come in here, I shift on to the next thing, I shift on to the next opportunity that sits in front of you, and I just try and instill that mindset into the players to not over enjoy or not over celebrate, because the next challenge and the next task is just round the corner.
How's the sort of team looking? Do you get them all back to Copenhagen in one piece?
Yeah. I think it was the quickest lap honour in the world on Saturday. But no, listen, it's been said so many times that they are, win, lose or draw, they're an absolutely tremendous bunch to work with. When I start to get bits coming back from individuals with a wealth of experience that have been round the corner that tell you that it's the best dressing room that they've been involved in, that makes me immensely proud, because that's what we've tried to build, that's what we've tried to piece together. That doesn't get you 3 points, but it can help you. So yeah, I think the game's changed a wee bit from maybe in my day. They're not away going absolutely daft. I think it's an opportunity for them to get away and spend time in each other's company, and to start to get that sort of team bonding and trying to enhance that a little bit. So now we had a really good session yesterday, and they're back with real appetite, a real hunger to get going this week.
Is Tony Watt the only one back in from Saturday?
Yeah, as far as we sit just now, Tony would be the only one that's added to the group for the weekend.
But you're starting to get people back in training. Do you start to see light at the end of the tunnel on that?
We're getting closer, yeah, we absolutely are getting closer. It's now about trying to keep them in. I keep saying that, it's not to tempt fate, but we're starting to see one or two that have been out for such a significant period. They're getting closer. You see the likes of Sam Nicholson getting on the pitch. But I stress it again, they've got a long way to go, because the rest of the boys have been through a pre-season, they've been through 20 games including cup games, 20 plus games including cup games, so they're going to have to build up that robust edge to make sure that they're able to stay in and contribute for the rest of the season, because I do believe in that element of contribution. They want to, it's about keeping them in there to make sure that we get something from them, because I think that we've got some real good players that haven't been available as well.
It's going to make a big difference in your squad, isn't it? Is it almost going to be like new signings?
Yeah, in a way you can look like that, but I already know what the players are, I already know what they've got the potential to bring, and I'm fairly certain that they will do given time.